Good evening. We're back again, or I'm back again. Another Subaru live Q&A session. I don't know how many people are watching tonight or are going to tune in. Hopefully a few more will join us. At the moment it looks very light on the ground. It was a very late announced session. I wasn't sure that I was going to make it back in time. But I did, even though awful traffic, horrific weather. But I'm here. We're going to talk about Subarus. You're going to ask me questions. I'm going to do my very best to answer them. If you've been here before, you know the score. Put a big Q at the beginning of your question in the live text, and I will do my very best to answer it. If you've got any suggestions for people to have on as part of the live Q&A session, planning to have guests on and sort of share the questions between us, then put that in there as well, and I will pick those up and try and sort it out with them if they're amenable and have the facilities to come on and do a live Q&A session. So yeah, I can see we've got a few more in here. Neil, hi Neil. All right, you're back again. Good. Yeah. So yeah, interesting day at the dyno. Beautiful 2011. Impreza STI, made 360 horsepower. Lovely, great engine. I know that because I built it. And then after that, a JDM Bug STI with what appeared to be probably a failing or blocked up cat. So it was really restricting the power at the top end. So obviously he's going to take that away and fit a slightly better flowing cat. Got a couple of questions already, but just wanted to answer a couple of questions from people that sent them in. As far as mapping the car, if you've got an access port, you will need to unpair the cob access port and then tune it via Tactrix, because with the cob access port you can only load on files that are supplied to you by a cob dealer. We don't have the cob access port in the UK unless it's a US car. But yeah, you won't be able to load maps in there until you've unpaired the access port. Another question, a customer or a viewer with a 2005 Legacy GT and a 2005 Outback XT, both turbos, is been scared by forums saying about the oil filters in the oil lines to the VVT as to getting them taken out. You should take them out. There was a Subaru bulletin, I think it was around 2006, 2007 that came out that said to remove those because they have a habit of sort of sludging up. And when they sort of block with a sludge, you don't get the full VVT effect, or you get it lopsided on one side of the engine. Can make it a little bit lumpy and horrible. So it's best to do it when you do a cam belt, because you need the left-hand cover off the engine to actually get to the banjo bolt that's got that filter in there. But it's definitely a worthwhile thing to remove. There was another part of that. Is it worth running it on 93 RON fuel or octane fuel in America if the map is for 91? Yes, it's always better if you can to run it at a better fuel than the car's map for. It just gives a bit of extra safety margin. Right, okay. So hopefully we'll have some questions. Right, okay. So Neil had an issue before Christmas with high voltage on the map. Looks like the e-Pixies has sorted it and now runs perfectly, no issues now. That's good news. It could just be cold weather that's causing higher density of air that's going through. Yeah, I'm glad it's sorted anyway, Neil. And you're not here by your own now, or on your own. Hi, Tom. Okay. Question here. Duncan, do you still remap ESL boards on a classic? Yeah. The version 2 boards I can map. The version 1 boards, the software doesn't work on any modern computers and it's not available anymore. So if it's a version 2 ESL daughter board, so on a 92, 96 or a 97, 98, then yeah, no problem. All I'd say with that is if you're doing a 97, 98, fine and easy to do mathless with those. But if you're doing a 92, 96, or if you've got a 92, 96, then the mathless I don't think works as smoothly as it should do. It's a little bit blocky in how it delivers the power. It doesn't interplate between the cells in the map very well and can make it feel a bit notchy. Or would you suggest scrapping it and buying a Link or similar? Yeah, the ESL, it works well enough. If you've got standardish size injectors, if you've got larger injectors, sort of over 550s, then there isn't the ability within the software to change the actual tip-in or the acceleration enrichment. So you tend to get, if you've got bigger injectors in there, like 900s or 850s, you tend to get a big glob of fuel that goes into the engine if you stamp on the throttle. So if you've got a standardish car and you want to get it running right, then the ESL works really well. But if you're looking to modify a car, the Link or Cyvex or a Haltech or whatever, an aftermarket solution that is more modern will work a lot better. Right, okay. Hello, Duncan. Does having the blow-off valve blocked actually cause incorrect readings at the MAF sensor? No. If that's blocked, when the air's going through the air filter, through the turbo, getting squashed and going into the intercooler and then into the engine, the MAF's reading perfectly, absolutely perfectly. When you let off the throttle, when the dump valve would normally open, that air is then going backwards through the turbo or the intercooler and the turbo and coming out the air filter, and that's what gives you the special sound effects that Subaru owners love. That air goes backward over the MAF sensor, and the MAF sensor doesn't like reading in reverse, so you can get a bit of a hesitation at that point. It varies per car as to whether it's a bad hesitation or whether it isn't, but certainly if you're not running a MAFless, or if you're running a MAFless ECU or a MAFless map, then it's not going to cause an issue at all. To a degree, it can wear the turbo a little bit more because the air's going back through it the other way. It can stall the compressor blades a bit, but in my experience, it hasn't made any difference to any cars that I've personally owned or that I've seen where the dump valve delete has been done. Yeah, if you didn't do anything to it, it would just be cold weather. I don't know whether it's slightly warmer now than it was. Bit of moisture on the sensor as well can sort of cause it to overread. So it might be a bit of that. It might be something to look out for as to when and if it returns. Right. Good evening, Mr. Snap Happy. I'm wondering how to tell what bit of ECU my 2006 Forester XT has to know if the cable video you did will work. Which ABD plug? Yeah, the Forester's a bit of a weird one because Foresters tend to be a parts bin car, so it depends what Subaru have on the shelves at the particular time that they're building, or even the particular day that they're building that car. They go, oh, we'll have one of those looms, one of those ECUs, and so subsequently you tend to find a complete mismatch of bits. I've mapped. I had one customer with 3 Forester XTs, and all of them had different bits on them from the factory, all the same year. So it isn't always easy to know which one is on there or which setup is in there. If it's a 2006 XT, it should be a 32-bit ECU. It should probably be a 512 kilobyte file. We'll need the test connectors joined under the dash, Tactrix cable in. Probably not usable with the 1.3 U cable, but doesn't always follow. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But Foresters are parts bins. I love them, but they are impossible to know what's actually on them. Ooh, RSA Dynamics. Right. If you were going to rebuild an EJ207 with brand new 2018 2.5 RA block, what other parts would you change, i.e. or pick up different sump? I would certainly put one of the later twin scroll type sumps in there. They're better for oil surge. Obviously, you'd need to change the pickup at that point, and always put a new pickup on there. They're about £25. It's not worth reusing them or cleaning them out. Depends what happened with the old engine, but probably I would be inclined to say put a 207 in there rather than the 2.5. Be a stronger engine, even though the RA is a lovely engine. It's not as strong as a 510C, like thick wall 207 block. Aside from that, what else would I put on there? ARP head studs, good head gaskets. But it depends what you're using the car for as to how far beyond that you go. Hi all, get a stumble at exactly 3,250 when the boost map switches. Is this a Lambert sensor issue? Map tweak needed for the front mount. If you fit the front mount, then yes, definitely a map tweak for that. I can't remember what your car is, Chris. If it's a later one, then there can be an issue with like the GR stumble. So there's a little bit in the MAF curve that needs just adjusting for that, because of the strange fuel pressure regulator setup. But yeah, if you fit the front mount, I would say yeah, it definitely needs tweaking for that. Hi Harry, yeah, lovely car, love the car. Just need to change that catser. Yeah, the ESLs work really well. On a version 4 in particular, it works really well. Gets rid of the MAF sensor. You can run it. You got switchable maps. You got essentially factory cold start and factory knock control, which is actually pretty decent on a 98 ECU. But unfortunately, can't get new ESL boards. So it's very, very much reliant on the second-hand market now. Boom, boom. Get loads of questions. Thanks, guys. I was talking to Zed earlier on. He came up to the dyno and said, "Oh, live stream tonight." I genuinely love the live streams. It really makes me think on my feet. I've got no idea what the questions are going to be. So yeah, thank you for being part of it. Right, so Matea for fun. Evening Duncan had a new 3-inch triple exit exhaust fitted in the Matea. Nice. But with 2 silencers for track. Feels fine on boost, pulls as before. Do I need to get the map checked? Checked, yeah. I would say so. But certainly before you take it on track, it's just worth it, just for a bit of peace of mind, so that you know that everything's working fine. Changing parts of the exhaust can have an impact on the boost. It can have an impact on the fueling. So if you've got a slightly freer flowing exhaust in there, it might be making more boost. It might be going into areas of the map that haven't been checked for detonation or fuel ratio. So it'd be worth checking it. That's probably all I would say. It's all I ever say to a customer. If you're putting something on that you think is going to increase the performance, it needs to be checked at least. Possibly adjusted, but you don't need to start from scratch again. Evening, Colin. Right, have you come across a moving speed or idle? Replace the OEM speed sensor. Goes away after you start moving. Seems electrical load based. Yeah, I have seen that. Is it a JDM? So you've got a speedo converter in there as well, I guess. Most of the time, the issues are the converter. So either get rid of the converter for the moment, see whether it's stable, just running on kilometres an hour. If it is, then it's the converter. If it's not, then there'll be a wiring issue behind the dashboard that's doing it. Generally, on these older cars, wiring issues tend to be earth related. So, get all the earths off and clean up the mounting points and the bolts and make sure that they're all properly grounded. Boom, boom. Can I use EJ2i7 STI heads on a 2-litre STI block? Yes. Yeah, of course. You can use 2i7 heads on a 257 block. The only problem you get is the cylinder sizes are slightly mismatched. So the ideal is to open out the cylinder heads to match the bores, but it's not essential. It depends on what sort of power level you're wanting. I've seen many people just bolt 2-litre heads onto 2.5 bottom ends. Who has the best prices for new short blocks, fully assembled with crankshaft, pistons and rods? If you're in the UK, I would say the best people for buying these short blocks are DL Motorsport. So ICP have them, but DL tend to have the most stock. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll see you soon up there. I'm up there every couple of weeks now, sometimes more often than that, but it seems to be every 2 weeks, generally on a Monday. Because a lot of people in the UK are working from home on a Monday, the roads are clearer on a Monday. So there is some benefit of that for us unlucky people that actually have to go out and work for a living. Right. Right, okay, Chris, you've got a 2003 WRX wagon, done a 207 V7 STI swap on it, HE820 ECU from a 2001, 2002 UK STI plug and play. Yes, you used to be able to get the OVCS wiring from JT Innovations, but they are no longer selling them. They're not incredibly difficult to wire in. You've just got to like run 4 wires from the back cam sensors, and obviously 4 wires from the solenoids down to the ECU, and on the smallest plug on the ECU, there's pins there that those cables need to go into. The way I normally do that, if I'm making up a loom like this, is because I haven't found a location or a source for the pins yet, but I'm still working on it, is to get an old loom and take the pins out of that. Sounds easier than it is, but it's almost impossible to get those pins out. So it tends to involve hitting them with a hammer and taking what's left. I have got a wiring diagram for that if you wanted to email me. It is quite straightforward. Right, Nick's STI. Evening, Duncan. Bad cold start on my 2015 STI. Revs tend to go high, then drop low, then it just stumbles at low revs. When it's warm, it's completely fine. Any idea? Oh, God, there's a million things that could be. I would probably want to say, okay, is it something... Right. Does it do it if the lambda sensor is disconnected? Obviously, it's going to bring up an engine code, but if the lambda sensor is disconnected and it still does it, then it's not that. If there's an aftermarket dump valve, sometimes they're sticky, particularly when they're cold. So it could be that. It could be something like the coolant temperature sensor, but the easiest way to do it is to plug in and just see what the data is telling you, and let that lead you as to what the solution might be. It depends what you've modified, really, or changed. Ooh, STI Hawkeye for sale on eBay. If I fit a brand new engine block and rebuilt the engine, do you think I could sell it for 18, get my money back from rebuilding the engine? Yeah, you'd certainly get a lot more for it with a good engine than you would giving it away with a dead engine. Although, there's always people that will buy a car with a dead engine because, if they're in the trade, and, I've done it in the past, you buy something with a dead engine, you know how much it's going to cost you hardware to build an engine. It's a lot less than paying someone to build an engine for you. And you can make a profit on it. It depends how much you need to get out of the car, really, to be honest. I'm not going to read that one out, but there we go. Thank you, Yorkshire Petrol Head. Right, standard EJ20R in my 97 Legacy RSB, lovely car. Water pump failed, left a slight knock. It was shut off straight away, not run since. If the water pumps failed, then chances are the cam belt snapped, maybe. There's probably been piston to valve contact. I think I'd be taking it out and investigating, getting the heads off and just seeing what's happened in there. Hi, Colin. My Hawkeye STI goes rich when I come off throttle, and I'm wondering if over an initial injector, Richmond pulse width is basically tip out. Yeah, no. Depends. Have you got the overrun fueling switched on or off, Colin? Because generally the overrun fueling, or it switches off the injectors on the overrun until you come down to sort of 1500 RPM. If you bump that up to like 5,000, 6,000, whatever for some pops and bangs, then there will be fuel going in on the overrun, and it's always going to run a bit rich. There's compromises with the standard ECU. When you try and get it to do things that it wasn't meant to do. There's safety things or economy things that are in there that are designed to save it from going rich on the overrun, and you switch those off or change them so that you can have some fun bits. Then try switching or putting the overrun fueling back down to the standard levels. WRX 2006 started porting out of my stock headers. Will it increase the performance? Possibly a little bit. Depends what sort of power you're producing in the car at the moment, but the stock headers start restricting the high 300s. So if you're up towards that, then it might free it up a little bit. If you're below that, then it's probably not going to make a huge amount of difference. But I haven't tested that, so it might. Skinny round. If it's engine out, you've got a few hours to get the engine out, strip down, and investigate, and just see what's damaged, if anything is damaged. And while it's apart, you might as well be doing. Well, you'll need to do new head gaskets. You might as well sort of clean it up a little bit, check the sump and see what's in there. Check the oil pickup pipe is still fine. But the thing I would be looking at is piston to valve clearance. So if there's any witness marks on the valves, then if they're touched, the valves will be bent. Right, rear strut tower brace. Is it worthwhile addition? They do flex a bit at the back of the car. Is it worthwhile? Worthwhile for the road. It makes it more stiff, but that isn't always a good thing. Can make it rattle and knock a lot more. But it depends what you're using the car for. I personally, I don't like them because they interfere with the boot space and interfere with the ability of putting the back seats down and carrying large loads, which I do sometimes. But I've seen them fit into the cars. I've driven them with the cars, and they do feel tighter and more responsive in some ways. Try it and see how you get along with it. Right, how good are the Peders suspension for my Forester? I've sold my Forester, the Black Forester STI now, but I think they are the perfect suspension setup for a UK car on UK roads, because they do cope with potholes and uneven road surfaces better than coilovers, in my opinion. If it was a track only car, then coilovers are the perfect option. Adjustable heights, adjustable damping and rebound and all the rest of it. But the Peders, it's a great value setup, and they work really well. Bum, bum. Oh, yeah, right. Hi, Duncan. Plan to remove the engine for clutch and timing. Should I look at the oil pump? EJ205, around 150,000 miles. Um, yeah, it's a difficult one. Whenever the engine's out, there's things that are worthwhile doing. Check the gaskets, make sure that the cam cover gaskets are not leaking, because while the engine's out, you might as well repair or replace those. Oil pump, water pump. Yeah, difficult. I was chatting to Nick Baker down at Car and Custom Garage yesterday. I was down there mapping on the road down there with him, and he's noticed with some of the newer oil pumps, be it 10mm, 11mm, or 12mm, there is slightly less oil pressure with those than with the older pumps. So whether they've changed the design of them or not, I don't know. But it's part of me would say, if it isn't broken, don't try and fix it. 150,000 on the engine is good going. So as long as the you're putting good oil, good fuel in it, there's no reason why it won't do another 100,000 on that engine. I've mapped them with 300,000 miles on the original engine, never been opened. Yeah, most of the time oil pumps don't fail. It's generally something has broken or a bearing has gone through the oil pump and jammed the oil pressure relief valve. Right, a few problems at the moment. The car really struggles to start only when warm. Revs bog, but it doesn't stall. Comes up to idle eventually. Caused by lambda, maybe starts strong when cold. That's weird. Is this on the ESL, Chris? It could be the lambda, but yeah, I would need to see it, to be honest, to give you a more of an answer rather than it could be a lot of different things, and it's expensive going through and changing everything. If it struggles to start when it's warm, it can be things like crank sensor or cam sensor that maybe are getting a little bit on the old side. But if it's still starting strong when it's cold, yeah, that's a weird one. Right, Chris, I have genuine Tatrix cable. Is there a way for me to disable the immobiliser on the 2001, 2002 STI ACU as the immobiliser box that came with it don't match? Yeah, if you map the car on Carberry ROM, then you're doing away with the immobiliser, the factory immobiliser anyway. So yeah, you might want to consider that. There are other, there's pros and cons for doing that, but yeah, it will certainly get it started so that you don't have the issue with the immobiliser. Well, hi Will. Right, I'm planning to do a new engine build for next year to get the most out of my RCM 600. Any companies you would recommend doing machining to fit dart and sleeves? Right, the last time I had top hat dart and sleeves put into an EJ257, that was by a company in the Midlands around Coventry called Chesman Engineering. I think they're still doing it, but I don't know because I haven't spoken to them for probably 10 years now. But they certainly did a very, very good job on that. Aside from that, speak to Alan at AS Performance up in the northeast. But whenever you're putting Darton sleeves in, no matter what you do with them, they tend to drop out a thou before or after you've run the car. So what I used to do is get them machined so that they were 2 thou proud when they'll put in. Always drop a thou, engine out, put new head gaskets, and they're good to go then. Oh, God, this is the question. Any tips on sealing frameless polycarbonate windows without bars or sealing it up permanently? I still want to use the doors and electric windows. Ooh, I presume not electric on the polycarbonate. They just won't cope with that at all. I can't remember what the little push things are called, but I had them on my car because I tried the tabs, but the windows just blow open at speed quite violently at times. So when you're sort of doing over 100, and they pop out. I've tried all kinds of different things. The bars, they still flex, but the little push buttons that has a little hook inside that will clip under something that you weld to a roll cage, they work really well. If you watch the Time Attack car video that I did a few weeks ago, there's a bit in the video there where those little push clips were used for fitting the doors. They work really well, hold it really securely, but nothing else I found works. That's no problem. Good to see you again, Zed. Yeah, closed loop lander, sorted. Yeah, does the UK spec one track blob ISTI have forged pistons getting mixed answers? No, they're mostly no. Most of the time they are the hyperuretic or whatever the actual word is, cast pistons, but Subaru special cast pistons. But there's probably some around that have still got forged pistons. Depends whether they're crossover years or what stock they had left on the shelf. Subaru are really good at using the leftover bits for certain cars. Probably not, but if it's a 2 litre, which it is, with those hyperuretic pistons, then the engine's still good for 450 in my experience. Is it possible to write the ECU unit using a VAGCOM cable with ECU flash? I believe it is. Someone messaged me, I think it was last week, the week before maybe, and said that they've used the VAGCOM cable successfully, which is great. If you can't get hold of a Taptrix cable, which they're really stupidly expensive now, really stupidly expensive because they're not available new at the moment, or possibly never. But it depends on the car that you're talking to. I've used the fake Taptrix on quite a few cars now, never an issue. But I don't tend to write using ECU Flash. I write using ECU Edit. Bum bum bum. Right, hi Rays. Ray son-in-law, yeah. 2016 WRX STI, Cob intake, NVIDIA exhaust, nice kits. ECU had been tuned, but the Mac was locked. Okay, it was probably locked because it was used Ecutech software, which is not the person that's mapping that's locking it, but it's the actual software itself. It just locks it. They did it to stop people nicking other people's tunes. I can understand the reasons. I disagree with it. I never like to lock maps, which is why generally I use open source software. But the 2011 car that I did today, I used Ecotech on that. Race ROM, it does lock it. It just means that you can't get into it using ECU Edit or ECU Flash. Is there any... is there any way you can retune it? What can you do to retune? Either go back to the original mapper or someone else that's an Ecotech dealer like myself, or whoever. There's a whole range of people in the UK and across Europe that are Ecotech dealers that can map. It depends where you're based. Sorry for all the questions. That's what the session is about. It's about questions. Right, what would you say is strongest OEM short block you can buy for stock power? I know the stock block by STI engines came with thicker walls and forged pistons. Yeah, not all of them. Some of them did, but the later ones were not thicker wall and weren't forged pistons. The rods and the crank are great, but all of the EJ207 engines, the stock power will do that all day long. As long as it's mapped for the modifications that are on the car and run on good fuel, good oil. Changing the oil pump relief valve at a minimum if you're in there. £45 for an uprated polished valve that won't stick. I've never seen that. The Hawk oil pickup pipe tends to split, and that's what does the bottom ends. I had 3 of them go on mine, took out 2 engines, and luckily the third one I spotted it. I've never known the oil pressure relief valve to stick unless the bearing material is going in there and actually forcibly sticking it. In my experience, that's a symptom of something else breaking rather than what's killed the engine. Right, power loss. What cable can you buy right now to tune an STI from 2004, and do I need another cable to adjust the boost? No, the ECU controls all the fueling, ignition, cams, boost, engine codes, all of that. It's all in the same ROM. Use the cable that I mentioned on the videos, the 1.3 or the 1.3U cable, and that will work on that ECU, no problem. Stupid question. There is no such thing as there are stupid questions, but this isn't a stupid question. If the car is mapped on 99, should it be safe to use any of the main brands of fuel as long as it's 99? Yeah, the test that I did, there was a NATSCOC difference between them. The takeaway that I got from that was, if you map it on Tesco's, it'll be fine to run on anything else. If you map it on Shell, then depending on how much safety margin the mapper puts in, then it'd be safe to run on any of the 99s. I would say you're fine. If it's 99 from a good quality petrol station that has a pretty good turnover of fuel, not an issue. Right. Any experience with the difference between legacy twin scroll and Impreza? Yeah, I've had both. Legacy twin scroll, the GT Spec Bs, the JDM version twin scroll. If it's an auto, it has the VF38, quite a small turbo, makes about 260 standard, will map up to about 280 because it's a tiny turbo. If you look at the manual version, it's got a TD04 twin scroll version, so the pipe works different for the downpipe, but it's a bigger turbo. Will flow about 320 horsepower. The Impreza twin scrolls, the VF36, 37, and blah blah blah, all the later ones, they'll do 350, 360, maybe even 380 on some cars. Yeah, I love the Legacy. Yeah, I'll go out on a limb, Kieran, and say, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with SO and V-Power being completely interchangeable. There was no difference in the map on how the car responded, or even the power difference was like a horsepower, 2 horsepower. The SO actually made more than Shell. Yeah, so yeah, not just me. It has to. I think there is a difference between some of the really cheap ones and the one that I tested. The one that I tested had a special chip. Whether I'm just a sucker for the advert, but it had a special chip to maintain the voltage, which allowed it to flash. I've tried the cheaper ones before, and it just wouldn't let me do it at all. This did. So if you want to know what that cheaper one was that I tried, can't think off the top of my head. It's been a long day, but check the video out. The link is in the description. How are we doing time wise? Right, about 10 minutes left. Right, based in West Midlands, UK. Sadly, last owner had no documentation of he mapped it before. Dyno data said the map was safe, but only running in stock power. Yeah, my pleasure. You don't need to thank me. I enjoy these. Yeah, if it's only making stock power, then if it's standard car, which I can't remember whether it is. It's cob intake, NVIDIA exhaust. Yeah, thing is with the stock power, like when these cars came out first, I started mapping them, and they were sold as being 305 horsepower, but I always try and do a before and after, because some of the first ones that I did, they were coming out mapped at 305, and if I was trying to sell that to a customer, it's like, yeah, I'm going to take your 305 horsepower car and make it 305 horsepower. No one would ever do it. But I did a before run, 270, come back with 305. It's much better as far as, that's what it was and that's what it is now. And, you can obviously feel it better when you're driving anyway. If you want to bring it up to me when I'm up at pole position to check it out on the dyno, just to see whether it is safe. A dyno printout isn't going to tell you whether it's safe. Depends what their definition of safe is. Did they have deck cans on it? Are they used to tuning cars at 12.5 to 1? Whereas Subaru, you do not want to be running it at 12.5 to 1. So yeah, if you want to book it in with me, I can do a checkup on the dyno up there. Not a problem. Oh yeah. Give me a try. Question 2. Accu sumps. What's your opinion on them? Some people love them. Some people don't love them. I've never run one myself. I've mapped cars or worked on cars that have got them. I'm not convinced by it. By the time that the system realizes that the oil pressure is dropping, and then you have to wait for the system to feed that oil back into it, I think the damage is done. I had oil surge a lot when I was racing in the time attack compressor. Tried the baffled sumps, but as soon as you get speed and sticky tyres, they can't cope with it either. If you've got an oil surge problem and you're quick on track using sticky rubber, then dry sump is the only way to properly solve it. Once I fitted the dry sump, it was never an issue. It was just solid. Right. JDM bug STI has been mapped with an afterburner vortex back, and it's obscene. I've got a HKS high power 3-inch to replace it. Yes, it will need mapping, or at least checking. The afterburners are loud, really loud, but they're loud without flowing brilliantly. So loud isn't always more powerful. There is generally with the afterburner, there's a really nasty bend going into the rear box that can restrict it. If you're replacing that with a better flowing box or better design box, then it needs checking. It's going to change the boost. It's going to change the back pressure, which will change a lot of things. So get it checked out at the very least. I think I missed one from Zed. Okay, yeah, that's cool, mate. Yeah, was that a really grumpy looking old bloke with not very much hair? Yeah, that was a long time ago. The reason why I looked so grumpy that day, I was flat out working on other stuff, and they just took ages and ages and ages taking pictures, and that's just like, say, just get on with it. But it was great, and it was fabulous. I've still got a copy of that myself. Paul, you're getting fit, young man. How strong on the legacy EJ20X engine rotating assemblies versus 205? Ooh, they're probably very similar. I've not destruction tested either of them, but the open depth blocks tend to start splitting at about 400 horsepower. The rods and pistons generally start going before that. What spark plugs for your car, sir? On yours, PFR 6Bs would be perfect, Paul. Is it going to come out and play soon? Is it ready? Is it done? Is it finished? Right, it's almost time. If there's any more questions, say it now, or I will just shut the session down. Yeah, we're up at the hour mark, or almost at the hour mark. So I'll wait for a few more seconds. Yeah, I love these sessions. The videos and the planning for videos it's very, very time consuming, and it's just been crazily, stupidly busy these last few months, with work and some major distractions behind the scenes. But yeah, there are lots more to do, and lots more videos like the 400 horsepower. There's lots more of those. Kieran, where was your question? Yeah, there we go. Silly question. Go for mapping again. Standard ECU can't be run. I'd quite like some overrun mapped in on a switch, however, only at high revs. Is it possible to stop it at 5,000? Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Am I mapping it or is someone else mapping it? But yeah, you just stop doing the negative timing below 5,000 and yeah, sorted, easy. Pretty much like I did with the Pops and Bangs video on the Forester STI. You just start it a little bit further up the map. Was that George? It wasn't George Roll. Yeah, my reg. It was AK55 EGD. It's long gone now. 2009 that was. Long time ago. 17 years, blimey. Where does that time go? I think in 2009 it was probably running 450 horsepower, something like that. Had good fun chasing the Vipers. They were running Dodge Vipers around at that time. Yeah, I'd play with them. Anyway, thank you very much. And I will see you in the next session next week. Hopefully we'll have someone on board to do some questions and answer.